All right, what's up, everybody? Number two, attempt number two. Welcome in, folks. My name's Adam Annis. We're going to give it another countdown here. I think we've got the sync issues fixed. We had a little bit of a sync issue going on, but we did a little test. I think it should be better. So we're going to live with what we've got. You know, you do these things for years and years, and then just one day it's out of sync, and you're like, what? Why would that happen? But that's what happens sometimes with computers. Smash the like button. We're going to have to NSYNC, my favorite band, my favorite boy band from the early 2000s. Listen, it's going to be me. Just is. Smash the like button. Spread the word. We got a nice chord practice going on, and people might not know that we're live now because we were live and it was out of sync. It was all messed up, and now we're back. So come on through, folks. Get ready to practice. We got 4 minutes. Let me know where in the world you're practicing from. Like, Met was here from Denmark. Early days. Came right back in. Andrew, how many hours do you recommend a 2-year student should be practicing? You know, as many as you want to, Andrew. Practice should be a part of your daily living, your life, right? I'll take that coffee away from the keyboard. I know that bothers people. But your practice should be as similar to taking care of your body, taking care of your home and your environment, taking care of your friends and family. Practice is a similar endeavor. It's your life's work. It's part of our life. So I'm not going to say 10 hours, but it should be just something you're naturally curious about and incorporate into your life. Boston's in the house. He is back. What's up, Colleen? No more ventriloquism, thank goodness. The Blue Ridge Mountains are in the house. It's my dream to spend a couple weeks in the Blue Ridge Mountains at some point. Slovakia's in the house. Toronto's in the house. Switzerland is in the house. Serbia is in the house. What's up, Mexico? Scott says, hey-o, my worst C7 voicing is 1357. We're going to talk about the old 1357 here. There's no real worst, but that might be the worst. France is up in here. What's going on? Issaquah, Washington is here. Defiance, Missouri. Don't sleep on Defiance, Missouri. The Defiance, Missouri is a beautiful place. Beautiful place. By the river down there. Oh, the Harmony games. We got the improv games coming out in a few weeks, Tim. So get ready for some stuff. Yeah, I am back. We got 2 minutes and we're going to start. West Michigan. Bavaria is in the house. What's going on? Please smash that like button. This is a pirate. It's got a pirate live going on. The people might not know where it is. So smash that like button. Let everybody know that we're live here. Wendy's in the house. Germany is in the house. The Mississippi Delta is always present, ever present. CGF Mo. CGF Mo. Ted is in CGF. Is that on the boot heel? Why am I kicking myself here? What is CGF, Ted? It's Missouri, which is where I'm at as well. So Strong and Big Man says, so how many hours do you practice? I practice all the time. I practice on Open Studio Pro almost every day for an hour. But I also do my own practice, usually about another hour a day at this point, but sometimes not. I'm a busy dude. I'm gigging, I'm rehearsing, I'm writing. So I'm teaching. So when I was younger, there were big stretches of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hour a day stretches, right? And I think a lot of musicians go through those phases, especially when you're young and you don't have a family and a home and you got nothing except for your wits and your practice routine, and that'll get you far. What's up, everybody? We're about ready to start. I'm just going to see if this mystery from Ted is CGF Springfield. Dang it. Thank you, Ted. I should have got that. Springfield. Doggone it. All right. All right, y'all. Thank you for sticking with me. Thanks for finding your way back here. We're going to be working on some fun stuff here. Thanks for the beautiful comments, everybody. Let's get to it today. Today, we're going to be talking about our favorite 5 chords, our favorite 5/7 chords to be more specific, our favorite dominant chords. And we're going to discuss how to make our dominant chords better and maybe some options that you might not always think about, but are really good to have as options in our toolkit, right? And we could talk about maybe the worst version, although there really isn't a worst chord. It's just a preference. You can find great examples of any kind of shape. If you're playing it with conviction and it's part of a well thought out, connected piece of art, then it's going to be fine no matter what you do. But there are some that are harder to make sound good, for sure. And there are some that sound just maybe a little bit more sophisticated than others. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit this whole time. A couple of things, some housekeeping before we get going. Again, we are pirating our way through this live session, so you might want to hit the like and subscribe button. Hit the like button if this is the kind of stuff you want to see here from Open Studio, working on different chord voicings. We need to know that, so please hit the like button and let us know what you think of these sessions. And then, if you haven't already, I encourage you to subscribe because we go live here a couple times a week at least, and we release new videos literally every other day, sometimes 5-6 days a week. So you don't want to miss all those. They're super fun. And then also you just get a nice collection of musicians, hopefully steady stream of interesting musical content coming at you throughout your week. And we hope that you find that enriching and entertaining. So smash that subscribe button. One more bit of housekeeping. You're going to want to download the PDF. That is the PDF. That's the full PDF. We're working on 10 different versions of the 5 chord in the key of F. So you're going to want to download that and make sure that you have the PDF with you. That's yours to take with you. This is a very simple practice we're doing. Ciao from Tokyo. I like it. All right, let's get to it, y'all. So we're going to start here with our very basic version of a 4-5-1 in the key of F. So in the key of F, B flat is the 4 chord, C is the 5 chord, and F is the 1. Now we're going to do a very basic triadic practice on this, but don't think that because something is simple that makes it easy or it makes it not useful. Sometimes, actually not even sometimes, most of the time, the basics, the fundamentals are the most essential things for us to glean from. So working on your chords in simple triads, like a triad in your right hand and a bass note in your left hand, is the foundation for most piano. Yes, we can do things with chords in our left hand. We can do big split up voicings. That's definitely part of it. But working on our harmony specifically in this very simple way can be enlightening because you're making very small, very easy to understand changes to one simple concept. So I encourage you to be able to do what we're doing here today, which is to just make some good sounding chords sound good. So here's our 4-5-1 in the key of F. Again, B is the 4 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's B. We're thinking about an F major scale. C is the 5 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's that major, that dominant sound, and then we're going to our 1. We got a beat today from Peter Erskine on the Chicken, from the Jaco Pastorius band. This is going to be where we're starting from. So we're going to start with maybe the worst version of our 5 chord, but it's not even the worst. It's really just the most basic. We'll talk about what could be the worst. Someone already alluded to it in the comments. But this simple exercise of tweaking our 5 chord is crucial for us to understand some ways to create tension and release in our chords. Let's just try the very first version here, just those first 2 bars. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, and. Try it again. I'm putting a little grace note there on that F. A little sauce. The minor third to the major third, because I like it. Because I'm a human being with feelings, thoughts, preferences, desires. Okay. So again, this is just our C major triad. This is the basic version of what we're doing here today. Is it the worst? Not even close. It sounds beautiful, actually. Let's look at our next two bars. Here's the first time we're going to add a seventh chord in the equation. Now notice we're just taking that G and we're moving it up to B flat. This is a little better, in my opinion. Why is this better? Well, it's going to give us some chromatic gravity, which is a term we like here at Open Studio, with the voice leading. It's not necessarily better, but it gives us some contrary motion, that C7. Let's do it a couple more times, and then I want to break it down a little bit. Okay, so I want to look at the difference between these two very basic chords. So our regular C triad, right, if we just have the C in the root, and then on our right hand we've got G, C, and E, right? That second inversion triad. It's kind of the king of the triads because it's got the third on the top and it's just very, very powerful. Now, this sounds really good, right? Good voice leading, everything is very, normal sounding. But this C dominant 7, if we think about this as hinging, actually, we're going to hinge our G up a minor third to this B flat. So this is still a triad. This is what you would call a C dominant triad. You have the root, the third, and the 7, right? That G is actually not omitted, it's just moved up to B flat. And what this does is create contrary motion between the B flat to the A and the E to the F. So it gets us this. And we have oblique motion with the C staying the same. Oblique meaning that something stays parallel. So this, where you have parallel motion, they're moving in the same direction, can be a little bit tweaked with, right? That is the big difference. Let's just do these two. Let's do the first one again, the first two bars, and we're going to go right into the second. So let's do them right in a row. 1, 2, 3, and. Now the C7, the second example here. It's a little crunchier. Do the first one again. Now the second one. I don't know about you, but they're both useful in different ways, but that second one has got some juice to it. Let's look at another version of a 5 chord. So this is what we're going to call our sus 5s, this little pair that we have here, meaning that there is no third in our C chord. You could also call this B flat over C. You could also call it like a C7 sus or a C9 sus, you might call it. But we're going to call it a B flat over C because I really want to convey the B flat triad in here. Now this is a brilliant chord, again, for voice leading purposes. This combines a perfect bass movement, right, an authentic cadence, a C7, with a plagal chord movement, right? You've got this four chord, bam, bam. Isn't that cool? So you got this thing here. And the voice leading, again, you've got oblique motion with the F staying the same. You got the B flat coming down to A, and now the parallel motion, the D coming down to C. Let's try this first example here. 2, 3, and. Anytime you listen to any Stevie Wonder, notice how Stevie treats his 5 chords. They're almost always this kind of sus chord. Way more than a typical dominant chord. Someone like Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin will play like a B flat over C as opposed to a C dominant. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Okay, so that is our first sus chord. Our second sus chord is also something you might hear someone like Stevie Wonder or Herbie Hancock or even someone like Hall & Oates use, or really a lot of jazz musicians would use this one too. But this is a B flat minor over C. You could call this a C7 sus flat 9. If you ever see C7 sus 4 flat 9, it's a long ass chord symbol, but it just means B flat minor over C. So you could also write it like that if you want. Because you've got the flat 9, you've got that sus 4, you got that dominant 7th chord. It's hauntingly beautiful. It's dark. It's crunchy. There's something very melancholy about it, but then it switches straight to hope when you hit on that major 1 chord. Let's try our second example here of our susses. The B flat minor over C. 2, 3, and. How gorgeous is that? That 4 minor over 5. Try the first one again, just the regular B flat. Check this out. Hearing the difference. It's a lot more hopeful. It's a little more punchy too. Again, the B flat. Now the second example, B flat minor. Isn't that great? So those two susses, that is a really, really useful 5 chord. And it's something that, you don't necessarily have to tell anybody about. You don't have to ask your grandma to use those 5 chords. Those are just tension chords for you to use. And great musicians can hear what you're doing. A bass player doesn't have to know anything. A bass player is just playing that C. If you're playing behind a soloist, you're going to want to listen, right? But a regular sus chord, that's fair game. Even if the soloist is playing a third, it's part of that. And then the B flat minor is something that they're going to have to hear. But a great soloist, you can, especially someone you know really well, you can put these suggestions in there, and it's going to take them places that will hopefully inspire them. And then you might hear a soloist imply a flat 9 sound. Man, throw that B flat minor over C in there for your 5 chord. It sounds beautiful. It's a beautiful spice of life that we're adding here. And I don't know why I'm adopting some sort of Italian accent, but try to keep that on the as minimal as possible. Okay, next we have one of my favorites here. This is also what you would call a slash chord. I have this as C9, but really this is like G minor over C. It's very similar to B flat over C, but it's a whole different vibe. This is something you might hear Steely Dan play, this kind of chord. Check this out. Check out our first example. 2, 3, and. Very similar to that B flat, but it's got that G in there instead of the F. So it's like a 2 chord over the C. Beautiful. And that one is so easy to remember too, because you just have to think about either the 5 chord off of the C7, or you could think about the 2 chord over the 5, right? Isn't that gorgeous? Now, there's a little thing that you're going to hear. Well, you're going to hear, again, So many players use this. This is, to me, I think of Larry Goldings, the great Larry Goldings, who we just had in studio at Open Studio a couple weeks ago. This is something that I feel like I've ripped off from Larry, but I'm sure he's got influences on this too. So we're going to take this G minor triad. We're going to go up a whole step. So starting on an A minor. And you can walk down A minor, A flat minor, G minor to F. And don't overuse this. It's so easy to overuse this on every single dominant chord. But it sounds so good. Let's try it. 3 and... You know what I mean? Come on. Starting to overplay because I'm so excited. Just be cool, Adam. Just be cool. Let's go back to our first one. Our G over C. That alone is good. Let's try our second one, our walk down from A minor, chromatically down. You know what I mean? Last time. We're getting silly. I got a couple more versions here. Before we get to this version, just want to remind everybody to smash that like button. Do it. Hit it. It helps. It helps spread the word, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Also, don't forget to grab the PDF. All of the examples that we're playing today are on the PDF that's yours for free to take home with you from this session. These are so much fun to do. We're doing this every week, so hopefully you got a nice collection of PDFs by now. Let's look at what we've got here. So we're gonna start taking it out here. Okay, so I forgot to update the chord change on our next version. Shame on me. I'm gonna punish myself by taking a drink of coffee. So I got a wonky chord change there. That's my bad. The C9 should say C7 sharp 9 flat 13. So that should be a C7 sharp 9 flat 13. So this is some crunchy stuff we got going on here. Let's hear how this sounds. 1, 2, 3, 10. Now this is very, very crunchy. Let's try that again. And again, that should say C sharp 9 flat 13. That's my bad. But isn't that beautiful? It's got a very Duke Ellington quality to it. Very Jimi Hendrix quality to it. There's something you might even hear like the Beatles pull out. But it's really all about having that A flat on top. You know what I mean? That A flat in the key of F, that's the minor third, and putting it on top of the 5 chord, it gives it a whole F minor vibe, you know? play some F minor stuff over it. Let's check out our next example here. Very similar thing. G flat 13. This is the tritone substitution. We're substituting out the third and the seventh to its cousin G flat. So the third and the seventh of C7 are the exact same third and seventh of G flat 7, E and B flat, or F flat and B flat. And the root note happens to be a tritone away. This is something that every jazz musician you've ever met really enjoys. And again, you can, it has like, because that A flat on top, it has that sort of F minor vibe. You can't talk and play at the same time. But the easy way to think about this is it's just a chromatic tone away from our target. Our target is F, and it's just a dominant seventh chord, a half step above our target. Let's go back to our C chord, our C sharp 9 there. And again, if you're just joining me, it's a bum chord symbol. What a bum. Now go to our G flat. Notice they're the same chord. Different root. There's only one note difference between the C and the G flat chord. And it's the root, C or G flat. Everything else is the same. So I just want to point that out. Our C sharp 9, flat 13. The top four notes are E natural, B flat, E flat, and A flat. Our G flat 13, the top notes are F flat, also known as E natural, B flat, E flat, and A flat. Exactly the same. The only difference is the C or the G flat. I don't know, y'all. Can it get any better? I don't know if it gets better, but it can't get worse. Here's our last two examples here. These are some kind of grab bag things. We're going to do a backdoor 5 chord. So this is our E flat dominant 7. We're going to make a sus out of it, though, a D flat over E flat. Listen to how this sounds. We're going to, again, this is a substitution of our 5 chord. It's called the backdoor 5. We're going to borrow here from the key of A flat or the key of F minor. They're both the same thing. A flat and F minor are relative to each other. So it's kind of modal interchange. It's not even kind of. It is modal interchange what we're doing here. We're borrowing from the key of F minor in the key of F major. And listen to how friggin' glorious this sounds. 1, 2, 3, and. Again, that A flat on top makes us think of F minor, which is handy because this chord is a chord in F minor. Heard this in a billion pop songs. I mean, this is also has Stevie Wonder's fingerprints all over it. Little signed, sealed, delivered fingerprints. MJ, you can hear some MJ in here as well. Earth, Wind, and Fire, you can hear that influence. Isn't that great? Just gorgeous. One more time here. Yeah, that's my stuff. Our very last example is just something that I wanted to talk about. Sometimes you don't have to use a 5-chord as this static things. There are tons of different melodic movements on 5 chords that are very, very handy. None more so than this little walk-up we've got here. Let's look at our very last 2 bars of this entire guided practice session. Our last 2 bars here. 2, 3, and. Sometimes that's all you need. There's nothing wrong with that little diatonic walk-up. Those tenths are very powerful, and that oblique motion of the C staying on top to give it some connective tissue, to give it some glue, right? Let's try our first example with our D flat over E flat again. Try our second example with our beautiful walk-up. Do that again. Okay, let's review. We're going to keep that going. From the top, here is our most simple version, just the C triad. 3 and. Doesn't sound so bad, does it? Is this the worst one, though? There's no worst one. Let's try our second example with the C7. Again. Next page, our next 2, are sus chords, B flat over C. Let's do that again. How about our B flat minor over C? That again. Our next 2 examples are 9 chords, C9. A little G minor shape over C. What about our walk down from A minor chromatically down? Isn't that great? Again. Our dominant 7, sharp 9, flat 13. Again, bum chord symbol, sorry about that. And the tritone substitution, the G flat 7, our next one here. Definitely has like a minor vibe for these 2. And finally, our backdoor sub. And then our walk-up here, our diatonic walk-up. That is it for our work today. Again, make sure to download the PDF. You're going to want to take that with you, as it has all 10 of those examples. So which is the worst? What is the worst? We didn't even practice it, but if you are just going to play a root 3, 5, 7 dominant chord, it's going to be hard to make it sound super good. Now, that doesn't mean that nobody ever has. Of course not. There's plenty of people that have, but it's just a little bit of a big block that doesn't really reach me as much as some of our other choices here. So for me, that's the worst, but you could love it. It's just a taste thing. There's no best or worst, but I think that big block of thirds, if that's your artistic choice, cool. But if you want to know some more options, download that PDF. All right, I will take some questions here, as I know we probably have some questions. If you have any questions, put it in the live chat now, and I will get to it. Ovi's got a really, really interesting question. What is the qualitative difference between crunchy versus punchy and groovy? Are these interchangeable terms? Ovi, I don't think anybody has qualitatively defined the difference between crunchy. It's just a feeling. It's got a crunch. Now a punch doesn't necessarily have to have a crunch. A crunch hits you in the chest, right in the sternum with a fist. That's punchy. A crunch usually has some kind of rub on it, and then groovy means that it's in the pocket. So I guess that's how we'll quantify all of those. I love it. Gizzy Gillespie says the big block of thirds is cooking beans in the can. Exactly. Sometimes that's just what the doctor ordered. It's all you got. That's all you can do. That's all, you're out in a campfire. You got no stove. Cook those beans in the can. That's fine. Let's see here. Eduardo said the 13th is too sophisticated for a simple resolution. I don't think so. I mean, it all depends on the context. I assume you're talking about it really depends. Like if you are 30 minutes deep into a big jam kind of situation, sometimes you need that tension, or if you're just in an arrangement and you need some tension, that flat 13 can be really, really helpful. Makate says, how does a D flat sound dominant in F? Its function here is a backdoor 5 chord. So this is known as the backdoor 5, the E flat 7 to F. Or if you're in the key of C, it's B flat 7 to C. But it's the 5 chord that is a whole step down. Now this is here, if we were to go to F's relative, or parallel minor, F's parallel minor, F minor, right? That is a chord, an E flat 7 is a chord in F minor. The relative major of F minor is A flat, right? So this is the 5 chord in A flat, and it works well to get to our F as well. Something you see in all kinds of music. That's the Yardbird Suite. Charlie Parker uses one of those backdoor 2/5s. It's called the backdoor. It's a common phrase using this. You often see it in popular music. If you ever are in the key of F, you've got this this whole step, major triad, like D flat triad, E flat triad, F major. That's borrowing from F minor, right? This D flat triad and this E flat are in the key of F minor, and then you land at F major. But you've heard this sound a million times. The cousins of this, by the way, are B flat minor 7, C minor 7 to F major. Jamiroquai-esque, Stevie Wonder-esque, Earth, Wind and Fire-esque. This is like the end of I Just Called to Say I Love You. Beautiful. Let's see what else we got. Mike says, hi, how do I approach a chord like a major 7 with a flat 7, sharp 13? I assume you mean like a flat 13. Kind of like a dominant 7 with the flat 7 and the 7 distance. Is that, Mike, are you talking about this chord to like a major 7? Clarify from that. Because this is how that works. If we take our C, dominant 7, sharp 9, flat 13, right, the same shape that we had on the PDF, you can resolve it to an F6-9, an F major, just down a half step. Now, if you want a major 7, you can do that too. Sounds fine. Yeah. Let's see. Zave Am, or Zave AM, just got into jazz. Sorry for the dumb question. No dumb questions at all. But when playing a sharp ninth or anything with a similar dissonance with a stack, how can you process that into a progression? Do you mean like how do how would you use that in a percussion? Is that what you're talking about? A sharp 9? So it's just a tension thing. Exavum. We were just kind of talking about that. So again, I mean, we just went through 10 different tensions of C7. So a natural 9 to a major. That's the sharp 9, flat 13 to a major. It's just a matter of what you want to do. So if you're playing like... that's not going to work because you have in the melody a natural 13 and this natural 9 of a C, right? So you got to really have the melody in mind. Now, if you're playing a solo, you're many choruses in on Have You Met Miss Jones. You can throw in that sharp 9, flat 13 sound, and you're going to hear soloists do this as well. So if you're comping for someone and you hear, you know, the tenor player, that's a common thing you might do over a 2/5. Then you can throw in that big altered sound, right? But always be aware of the melody and always be listening to what the soloist you're accompanying is doing. If the soloist is playing a natural 9, that D natural, and you do this, it's going to sound pretty crunchy. And maybe not in a good way. Maybe in a fine way, but maybe not in a good way. It might be a better choice to do like a B flat over C, you know, or a C, like the G minor over C. Also a good idea. So that's why that's what this whole exercise is about, is giving you options for these different tensions. Chris says, so it's sharp, basically just a E flat 7, 9, 11. The backdoor. That's just an E flat sus, Chris. We just called it a D flat over E flat because I wanted that specific shape. Mike says flat 7 or sharp 13. Oh, Mike, I don't know what a sharp 13 is. I've never seen one of those in the wild. I've never seen a chord called a sharp 13. It's always just a flat 7. Makate says, or Mikate says, while demonstrating the voicings, you've played some fills in between. How do you approach those fills? I assume the voicing choices affect, but it can't connect the dots. Yeah, I'm just trying to connect the dots. We're in F here. So a lot of my fills were just around like F major tonalities. I've done a lot of videos actually, and I have a new course that's coming out in September called the Improv Games, where we talk about the fills that I do between the chords, how to get those sort of pentatonic sounds. But I also, Makate, I know I use like some F blues kind of language, especially when we were doing like if you're gonna hint at me with that flat 3, I'm gonna hint back. I'm gonna hint back. We're gonna hint. Yeah, don't sleep on the sus, the backdoor sus there. Now, the backdoor sus is a substitution. So if you do this and there's a bass player that's playing a C, it's gonna sound weird. It's gonna sound like that. So this is something that you would want to work out ahead of time in the arrangement, or if you have a bass player or a band that is very communicative and you all know each other very well, you can maybe, like I could probably do this with Bob DeBoo because we play together for years and he would just pick it up instantly because he knows me, but it's not something I would do on with a new band or pickup gig or at a jam session or anything. Toby says, just got on. What did I miss? Not much. Oh, Jack. This was awesome. Subscribed off to work. That's what we like to see, Jack. By the way, be like Jack. Subscribe and then go get your work done. That was pretty fresh. Says, can you explain in 8 words the entirety of music theory? 8 words. The entirety of music theory. Words. Oh, God. I don't know if I'm that smart, but let's try it. The entirety of music theory in 8 words. Birth, death, joy, sorrow, tension, release, color, and context. Kind of went from the big ideas down to the little. So birth, death, joy, sorrow, tension, release, color, and context. Bam. Lesson over. Jetfire says, good morning. Just got really interested in reading music. When can I use a sus chord in C major? Really, whenever you want, Jet. Whenever the spirit moves you, that's your prerogative. Vladimir says, can't wait for the Phil's course. Yeah, the improv games is coming out by the end of September, so do look for that. If you're an Open Studio member, it'll be on your dashboard in a couple weeks. Riley says, quick question. I play a good amount of piano, but I stink with my left hand comping. What are some good basics? So, Riley, the place to start with left hand comping is the thirds and the sevenths. So if I got a C7, me and Wynton Kelly and Oscar Peterson, we're all playing this E and B flat here. And that's going to be like the basis. You do that, and then you can start adding notes. I'm adding the 13 and the 9. So that's all just third and sevenths, and then I'm adding some pretty notes, some fifths, some ninths. But the third and seventh is where it all starts. And you can honestly, Riley, you can get away with just thirds and sevenths. That's all just third and sevenths right there. Danny Green says, in the key of C, why does F sharp diminished work when going to G? Is it a secondary dominant? It is a secondary diminished going to G, yes. F sharp diminished, all of these tensions, Danny, F sharp resolves to G, A resolves to G and B, C resolves to B, and E flat resolves to D. So it resolves to G. Now, Danny, check it out. In the key of C, like if you're in church, it also resolves to C over G, which resolves to G7. Right? You've heard this a million times. I'm sure everybody has. Now, the F sharp diminished is also a C diminished. It's an A diminished, a C diminished, and an E flat diminished. It's all 4 of those diminished. And we know that a C diminished, it has similar tensions that can resolve to a C triad. So the E flat resolves up to E, the C stays the same, the F sharp resolves to G, and the A can resolve down to G. So it resolves both to G and to C, and it works great for Ebens02 says, how do I get into improv without thinking it sounds bad? So the reason why it sounds bad usually is maybe you're playing some wrong notes, right? But more than likely your rhythmic vocabulary stinks, right? More than likely you sound unsure of yourself. Your rhythm is not good. There are plenty of examples of players that are playing some great improv, some incredible improvisations, that don't know a ton of theory, that don't know a lot of scales, that don't have great technique, but they're still sounding great because their rhythmic vocabulary, their sense of what they're saying from inside their bodies is so strong. So, Ibenzo 2, I encourage you, just take like 4 notes, C, E flat, F, and G, right? And again, let's like a C7, and work on an interesting rhythmic vocabulary. You can start by drumming, but like so. If we're here, let's get our metronome going. All right. So if I have a little metronome going, I'm going to try to take a drum solo. I'll do it just first with my hands. Check it out. Just trying to come up with some kind of interesting themes rhythmically. Now let's take it to those 4 notes, C, E flat, and F. So you can sound good without having a bunch of different scales by just trying to come up with great rhythmic ideas. And if you do that, if you make that a continuous part of your practice, then when you add cool sounding stuff over that, like great sounding note choices, beautiful melodies over interesting rhythmic ideas, it's just going to get better and better. But you have to start with that. Like, have you ever heard a kid play, like a prodigious kid that's really amazing? They don't know a ton of theory. But usually they've got like this incredible confidence and strong rhythmic pulse, this strong rhythmic language ideas that they've grown up around. Usually because, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but usually prodigious kids have like professional musician parents, Nepo babies, but for a good reason. But it's from absorbing the rhythmic language first and foremost. There's nothing, rhythm is usually connected with some kind of melodic themed content, so you can't take that out altogether, but you can't have any melodies without rhythm. It's not possible. They don't hang in time and space without rhythm. So you've got to really focus on that first. By the way, I've done some guided practice sessions. The one last week we did was all about rhythm, so I encourage you to go look at that. And we're going to be doing more. Rachel says, hey, huge fan. Thank you, Rachel. I'm thinking of becoming a music professor. What do you think common mistakes people make going into teaching are? I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that, Rachel, because I never thought I would be a teacher. I never planned on being a teacher. And I don't know that world. I don't know the academic world at all. I have a lot of friends that are like, adjunct professors at various universities, and I know it can be tough to, like, especially nowadays where no one's hiring for tenure. So if that's where you're going, I don't have any advice. Unfortunately, I wish I did. I would say one thing that the professors that have affected me the most were they kept a sense of playfulness and still had artistic careers outside of being a professor. So, and I know every professor tries to hang on to that, but I really encourage you to try to keep on some kind of performing career, because I think it makes a difference in how you do it. Like, I have only been a performer until 3 years ago, and I started teaching here just online. And I think in a lot of ways that helps me, because I'm just trying to solve my own problems. Like everything we're talking about here, these are things that I try to solve in my own practice, and I'm just trying to communicate to you what I think you might be interested, because I figure, well, if it's bugging me, like if I want all these different versions of 5 chords and I like these different tensions, you probably would too, or maybe some of you would. And so that's where this comes from. So Thomas says, what are your favorite triad pairs over dominance? So over like the C7, Thomas, I mean, the go-to can be the C and the B flat. So the root triad and then the 7th. C7, you would do a C and a B flat triad. Also, we just did this, that A minor chromatically down to G minor. So A minor and G minor are also really good. It's just no fourth in it. Those are two. And then if you're going to do like an altered sound, like that sharp 9, flat 13, and then even sharp 11, A flat and G flat over C7. Those are common. Right? Very, very common. And then there's a whole slew too of diminished triads we don't have time to go into. There's too many. Annie says, hi, I'm a member of Open Studio Jazz. Hi, Annie. And I'd love a course focused on achieving complete left-hand independence from the right-hand melody. This would be a great addition to the existing left-hand courses. Annie, I don't know if you have checked out, but you should check out Fred Hirsch's course, Thoughts and Experiments on Solo Piano, because Fred Hirsch talks a lot about that, about creating counter melodies in your left hand, about really having some independence between those. And he is a master at that. So this is noted, and I think Peter Martin would do a really good job of teaching this course, honestly. But Fred has some stuff. Go check out Fred Hirsch, Thoughts and Experiments on Solo Piano. It is on your dashboard. It is one of the greatest piano courses I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of them because, you know, I work at Open Studio. But he is amazing. He's one of the greatest players and teachers alive, and we have 2 courses from him. So any Open Studio members that are here now, go check out Fred's courses. You will not be disappointed. Craymond says, in your harmony games, is there a wrong way to go about practicing in all 12 keys? Like getting too stuck on a specific shape of voicing. No, there's no wrong way for anything, I don't think, Craymond. If you're having trouble on a specific shape of voicing, that's a feedback for you that it's not comfortable, right? I mean, obviously. And so it might require more time than some of the shapes in the key of C major or F major. So the reason why we take things through all 12 keys is to get comfortable in all 12 keys. And that takes doing it. That's why we say take it through all 12 keys, because you can't just think about it. I can just intellectualize this in 12 keys. That's fine. No, you actually have to put it on your instrument to experience it, or else it will not be there for you when you go for it. And taking it through all 12 keys is an exercise in breaking down the basics of music. Like we're thinking intervallically as opposed to just in one key. Chayla says, does Keyser also talk about this in his course left hand? Yeah, I should have mentioned that. All of Jeffrey Keyser's content too, especially advanced jazz piano concepts and keys to jazz piano, has a lot to do with that left hand independence. Obviously, Keyser is amazing at that, but Platinum says, is the circle of fifths just the 4-note major pentatonic of the previous note? I don't think so. But I'm a little confused. Sam says, how do you choose the best voicings, either in composing or in improvising? Like I often try to play tunes or well-known chord progressions, but it just doesn't sound as good and jazzy as the tunes. So Sam, it's all about context. So a voicing, I don't know if you noticed, but the voicings that we were playing today, we didn't do this. Everything has voice leading. We break down our voicings into literally individual voices. Each one has a place. Right? And that's why people who have good sounding voicings really just have good sounding voice leading. So understanding some really simple principles of voice leading are important. See if you can just start by staying relatively geographically close in your inversions. Get to know inversions, both closed inversions and open inversions of all your triads, major, minor, augmented, diminished, like all of your various kinds of triads, get to know in all the inversions, and then you have all of these beautiful closed, open options, and you can almost hear the top melody once you get used to how this is, how you're approaching these harmonies. It takes experience. Well, Robert's been playing for 57 years. That's a long time to be playing music. Congrats, Robert. Left hand, Dennis says, left hand, 2 minor 7 voicings for bebop. So interesting thing about this, Dennis, is we've been transcribing some Bud Powell over at Open Studio Pro, and Bud Powell on a 2 chord plays almost exclusively some inversion of 1 3 5 7. So D minor 7, 1 3 5 7, and in his improvisations, right? So he's going to play these also down here, but thinking about it literally as, and Barry Harris talks about this, a minor 7 chord is a beautiful thing. You don't have to add too much to it. Like, especially in bebop, they were playing a lot of 1 3 5 7s on those minor 7 chords. Oh, nice. Robert says, self-taught mostly by ear, no formal training, and jazz was just a foreign language until you and Peter came along. That's so great. Thank you for the kind words, Robert. That's great to hear. Made my day. All right. I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I got a live coming up at Open Studio Pro. Join me. If you're an Open Studio Pro member, which I see several here, we've got Feedback Friday coming up in 43 minutes at 1 p.m. Eastern, where you can play for the group. If you're not an Open Studio Pro member, go to openstudiojazz.com/pro and join today, and you can go to all the live classes we have. Thank you so much for this session. Sorry about the little mix-up in the beginning with the sync issue, but we got it sorted. We came, we saw, we conquered. Take that PDF with you, and I'll be back next week, next Friday, same time. I'll see y'all. Cheers.